Hey guys, it's Zach with Talk of Sinners. It's recently made a trip to Nashville over the weekend and went to Joy Church. And the pastor touched briefly on Proverbs 3. Though he was talking about a different section of Proverbs 3, I was drawn to verses 5 and 6. See, this is Solomon talking about the benefits of wisdom. As you know the story of Solomon, he sought after wisdom, and he attained it. He attained great wealth and great knowledge, and it's just it's a sign to me. It's an indicator that God is the source. The Lord is the source of everything that we need, and the more wisdom we have in Him, the more heart and faith we have in Him, the bigger the door is for Him to come into our lives and to change us and to mold us at the potter's wheel and make us into what He wants to make us. The one thing about life, before we get to the verses I want to talk about, is life is extremely hard. Life is the only thing in which you can feel like you've got a foothold and slip and lose your grip within the next 60 seconds. I mean, this is so prevalent, and it's so common in marriage and in work. I got to take a sip of my Monster. Hold on. This is so prevalent in work, in marriage, in school. We think we have everything under control. So with that, we begin to put our trust. We begin to put our trust into people. We begin to put our trust into our bank accounts. We begin to put our trust into our education or our college degrees or whatever it may be. We begin to put these trust in things. And when we take our trust off of God and we put them into enticing things that seem so easily accessible and so appealing, when we put our trust in those things, we truly begin to stray from the path of God and from righteousness, and we invoke in idolatry, and when we lose those things that are so easily accessible and so enticing to us, when we lose our footing on those things, we are on a path of destruction where we have no idea where we're at. The good news is God will catch us when we fall. The bad news is that we have willingly turned from Him, subconsciously or consciously, and we have tried to make our own way. I can tell you, friend, that no matter how many times I've done that, God is always at the dead end of the road I'm on, telling me to turn around and make the trek back to Him. So, in chapter 3 of Proverbs, verse 5 and 6, it says and I'm sure you've heard this, trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Now in verse 5, let's focus on this, okay? Trust in the Lord with all of your heart. All of your heart. Not some of your heart. Don't trust in God when you're sitting in church only, or don't trust in God only when you're praying. Don't give Him part of your heart during specific circumstances, but give Him all of your heart during all of your life. All of the time, not some of the time. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. And lean not on your own understanding. The key word in the first section is all of your heart. The second key word, the second part of this verse, is your own. Lean not on your own understanding. Because when we lean on our own understanding, we begin on that path to destruction where God will be waiting there with all of His goodness and glory, telling us to turn around, for we have leaned on our own understanding and we've become lost. It's only when we see Him, the light at the end of the tunnel, because of His grace, He will say, lean on my understanding and not on your own. So that way, as verse 6 says, He will make your paths straight. Now, when we lean on Him, the first part of verse 6 says, in all of your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. Again, key word here is all. In all of our ways, we need to acknowledge Him. If we want our paths to be straight, we need to acknowledge Him with all of our heart in all of our ways. This is hard to do. This is very hard to do because we have eyes and ears and we have senses. The most infamous thing that we have is a sinful nature from birth. This is what causes us in all of our ways, in all of our hearts, not to acknowledge Him at some times, but to acknowledge the things after ourselves. And the Bible tells us that, if we don't have the love of God, it says, verse 13 says, blessed is the man who finds wisdom, the man who gains understanding. For it is more profitable than silver, and yields better return than gold. The Bible tells us that if we rely on ourselves and not on God, that we will be down a path apart from God with fear and disaster and destruction. But the Bible says to bless. Blessed is the man who finds wisdom and gains an understanding. So I would strongly recommend that everybody prays and just ask God to help us, give Him all of our heart in all of our ways, so that we may acknowledge Him and walk a straight path. Not a path down destruction, but a path towards Him, a path towards righteousness, and a path towards glory. So, I hope that this has helped somebody today. I think I needed this, not to be selfish, but I think that Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6, actually Proverbs 3, is a great display of where we need to be in our walk with Christ, and how important wisdom plays in the grand scheme of things.